Okay. So we're going to talk about tantra before we do our practice. So tantra. So we've got a few different things of how, and there's so many different, it's quite a big subject, and lots of different people will tell you different things. We're not going along the line of the Western viewpoint of tantra as this weird sexual thing. This isn't what tantra is. This is really very much a Western viewpoint. So tantra, it's a philosophical system that sees the world as sacred, and it provides a comprehensive science that empowers you to experience it. That just sounds so much fun, doesn't it? Right? It's like looking at life from that viewpoint. It makes, being that curious observer makes life more fun if you take the tantric approach. So tantra is two things. It's a philosophical system that sees the inherent sacredness of existence, but it's also a comprehensive collection of methodologies that unveils this sacredness, making it possible to experience its philosophical core. Okay, so there's methods to it to gain access to it. So this is some of the, you did a tantric meditation with me on Friday, and it's really opening the turning the keys in your mind to take you to where you need to be. So why would you study tantra? So from the view of the tradition, yoga is more than asana. So most of us have had at least some exposure or have heard of the vast array of principles, theories, and methods beyond asana, which you guys all have done. So the following comprises only a partial list of these principles and practices, and you'll have heard of most of them. So the bandhas, pranayama, chakras, mantra, kundalini, kosha, kraya, vayu, guna, and yantra. So yantra is a visual representation of something that you can meditate on. Okay, so tantra links all of these diverse yoga practices, they can all be interlinked and much more into a single and integrated system. There's complete method to the madness of it. So the principles will help you to begin to understand tantra and its philosophical core. So these are that the universe and all that is in it is inherently sacred. And in order to truly know yourself and the world, you must demolish the wall that appears to divide the world of spirit and matter. And the body is a universe unto itself. It's an exact reflection of the larger universe outside of it. So as the scriptures tell us, as below, so above. What is here is everywhere. What is not here is nowhere. It all gets quite complex, but I love that. So if you understand how to systematically enter your body and harness its powers, your body can be a springboard to spiritual awakening. So you'll have all have noticed the more you've been doing your practices, as much as some days you go, oh my goodness, but because you're staying on the path and you're working with your practices, you'll notice the changes, that your intuition is enhanced. Things are, even if things are challenging, they're being presented to you as lessons, as opposed to problems or traumas, because there's more of a understanding, and you're stepping out of your own way and not making things so personal. It's a way of connecting to the universe as opposed to feeling separate from the universe. So Tantra aims to positively impact your outer and inner world. Your body, your mind, emotions, your psyche, and your spirit, as well as your life. So the sheer vastness of Tantra's reach is one reason it's so widely misunderstood and so easily misrepresented. So one can so easily be distracted from Tantra's deeper intent and aim by isolating any one of its many branches or practices. Okay, so this is where some of the Westerners just focus on tantric sexual practices, where that's not really, it's the more wider encompassing working with the methodology to really connect and understand the philosophy. Okay, so this approach to Tantra is based on tradition, one that's been sustained for centuries by the teacher-student relationship. So lineage and tradition is where you would find the living experience of Tantra. Okay, so you're going to, when you're practicing the yogic applications of Tantra, these will help you to expand your view of the world and yourself. They'll allow you to practice and teach yoga as a holistic science. So using it, when we're speaking about when we're doing the energetics and the biomechanical, when we're trying to integrate everything, when we're sequencing, this is like bringing it into the more of a tantric way, because it's almost like alchemic. We're really making changes, not just from a physical perspective. So it also increases your joy, your capacity, your creativity, your freedom, and your self-awareness. Sounds pretty good, yeah. So, and it also helps to develop your capacity to apply the principles of vinyasa krama, wise progression, which we have been studying how to teach and to practice vinyasa krama. Okay, so Tantra is the compound of two verbs, and the word tantra has many meanings. The literal definition of Tantra is to expand beyond all limitations. Tan means to lengthen, extend, or to stretch. Tra means to expand, to move beyond all limitations, and also to protect. So the underlying theme of Tantra is that you're under the influence of limitations related to birth, society, finances, health, genetics, or even karma. So what you do to overcome your limitations is Tantra. So it's really trying to clear any of the stuff. We're speaking about reaching the subconscious mind that's so difficult to reach. This is where we have the breath is the connection to the mind, and the mind is the connection to the soul. This is the way that we try and connect, and we are aware of things that aren't actually us, so that we can cleanse them and have an understanding of them. Okay, so there additional definitions that help to shed more light on the many facets of Tantra. And the word also means science or body of knowledge. So many ancient tantric texts are compilations of a practically limitless and diverse array of human endeavors. For example, the science of mantra, or even how to save money, or how to live in harmony with lunar cycles, which I'm trying to do right just now. Improving sleep or memory or mental acuity. Rituals to positively impact your environment. Or auspicious times for starting and or completing worldly activities. So this is where you started to come into the Vedic astrology side of things, which is outrageously interesting. But we're not learning about that tonight, don't worry. I'm not throwing loads of stuff at you. So basically the point is that tantric wisdom expounds upon methodological, you know what I'm trying to say. Approaches to all aspects of life, from the mundane to the spiritual. Okay, so another meaning of the word is system or method or technique. So tantric texts provide precise detail on a variety of practices designed to achieve specific spiritual or worldly results. So the defining characteristic of tantric practice relates to the principle that upon applying a technique, it's going to spontaneously lead you to a greater worldly and or spiritual auspiciousness. For example, increased freedom, more success, more happiness. And I'm sure that you'll all agree with me that the more you've been on your path, and we're in the middle of a pandemic just now, but the more we stay on our path, as difficult as it is, the more life is opening up to us. Well, hopefully you're feeling that way, but there's always days that you feel a little bit crap. So, and today's a low energy day, but we still have that inherent joy within us, and this is what tantra can take you to. Okay, so tantra also means to accelerate. So your time is short, your energy is limited. So wanting to use everything at your disposal, body, breath, mind, astrology, Ayurveda, diet, to expedite your process of awakening is natural and it should be pursued. So using all these different things, this is why I have started to apply the cycles of the moon to practices, because it really does affect us. Okay, so it's vital that you quicken the time that will require for you to achieve your goals and desires. So it's just really about connecting to our breath, connecting to the resources that we have, instead of going, I'll do it another day, I'll just watch another of that series on Netflix, I'll come back to spiritual awakening another day. This is what it's saying. Okay, it's not saying there's a huge rush, do it now or else. It's basically telling you to take responsibility, and if you decide you're going to stay on the sofa and watch some rubbish on TV, that's up to you, but you're not going to be able to connect to the most inherent joy or who you really are, and really embrace life the way you should, by not doing the things that we have, like using what we have. Okay, so continuity is another definition of tantra. So tantra does mean so much, but as I'm speaking, I'm hoping there's more of an understanding, and it's less of a understanding from a mindset. It's about inner knowing and awakening that you already have within you. So continuity is another definition of tantra, and this relates to the principle that not only is it vital that you reach the highest experience of thriving, you must also be able to sustain that experience. So we're not going to try and reach that high. As I'm actually studying a course, so it's actually free just now, I think, if you want to try it. I know that you guys are doing enough just now, but it's at Yale University, and it's the science of happiness, and it's so interesting, so it's something like I'm studying it to understand, because I've got to hold my own space, but I have to hold others' space, and I want to really understand the science of happiness so I can help others feel happy. If I'm not happy as well, it's the energy isn't not right for holding other people's space. So really interesting that they discovered the science of it, that they discovered you can, the things that make you happy, they don't last. So something will happen, but as human beings, we start to plateau and we get used to it. You know, and they found that by taking a little break from each little happiness point and coming back to it, it sustains the happiness. So they did a test on, this is coming back to Netflix or the TV or whatever, they asked people if they would prefer, if they would be happier to watch a program without any adverts. And they thought, yeah, we'd be far happier, we'll enjoy it far better. But it actually turned out that with the ads, because you're having a break from that and coming back to it, you end up enjoying it more. But it's the same with, they did more tests and other things. But they did it also things on happiness for, you know, what you think you're going to find, what you think is going to make you happy, your perceived happiness, and after it, what your actual happiness is. And they do controls, and there's so much to it. And it's I mean, it goes without saying that it turned out the material possessions, people think if they get a new car, it's going to make them really happy. They get a new house. It doesn't last. You end up getting used to that thing and plateauing. And then, you know, they've discovered that experiences are always make you happier. So if you, that money, instead of buying a new car, you're buying an experience. Afterwards, the perceived happiness is, and you can look back on that memory. So as much as my youngest daughter gets angry with me when I buy her experiences and take her away and do stuff instead of getting her what she wants physically, I was quite chuffed when I read that. But there's so much to the science of happiness that actually comes back to the tantric teachings. So it's about finding that happiness, but also sustaining it, because as human beings, we plateau. And another thing was, there's a certain level of money that people it plateaus at how much money you earn, and the higher you go, it doesn't make you any happier. So really rich people aren't happier than people who can get by. If you can't get by, you're not so happy. But it reaches a plateau. So the amount of stuff you have, the amount of money you have, apparently the more, for every dollar you earn, you want another $1.4 as a human being. So we want to sustain our happiness by doing our practices, as opposed to wanting things and stuff like that. So the science of happiness it's really interesting. I can completely recommend it, just for your own interest. Okay, so another literal definition is to weave. So you might have heard this one. This is the one that when I've studied, I've studied quite a lot in Tantra, and weaving into life is one of the oldest definitions. So it's a bit like weaving a fabric, and it's the oldest uses of the term. So it refers to the weaving together of the disconnected parts of yourself, or of the coalescing of any gaps in your consciousness. Bring it all together and harmonizing the inner, the spiritual, and the outer, the mundane, into one elegant, continuous tapestry. But finally, this is my favorite definition of Tantra, and I'm sure that you guys will agree with me as well. And if you don't, I'm not going to take it personally. Okay, Tantra means awe or wonder, but means to have your heart touched. And I just think that's a lovely way of describing it. So its aim is to unlock a fullness of being. It's about returning you to the state that nature intended for you. So from this fullness, your heart is touched. So you experience the satisfaction of being moved and filled with supreme joy, and of recognizing your life as a gift. So it's a simple, profound awareness that you are blessed to be alive. I feel that, just round about when the pandemic hit, you all knew that I had a surgeon that got things wrong and basically told me I was going to die. So I meditated on the kleshas, I did my practice, and I had to, everything else that, that people worry about, I let that go. It was almost, it gave me that sense of freedom. And I had to look at my life, as we were speaking about the Dharma code, as a series of choices. And I was really grateful for some of the experience I've had, and I don't feel like I've wasted my life, but maybe really look at my life in a different way. And so I look at that mistake as truly as a gift, and it has changed things in a way for me that I don't look at it as a bad experience. It was a really way of really connecting in a deep way, and not many people get that opportunity. I'm looking at it as an opportunity. That's what it is. So the vision of Tantra, its ultimate aim, is threefold. So the first one is fulfillment. And the Sanskrit for fulfillment, and you might have heard of this word before, is bhoga. B-H-O-G-A. The second one is apavarga, which means freedom. It's sometimes translated freedom, sometimes in Tantra is moksha. You might be more aware of that. The yogis, as opposed to yogis who don't study Tantra, would call freedom moksha. A lot of the tantrikas would call it apavarga, but they have a similar but a different meaning. Okay, a different vibrational frequency, but it doesn't really matter. So you have fulfillment, freedom, and the third one is accomplishment. Bhukti. B-H-U-K-T-I. So bhoga, I quite like saying that word, it's quite a good word to say. So it refers to worldly fulfillment. So it's the desire for which is innate. So it's the desire for pleasure, for happiness and success. And it follows us through every step of life. It's okay. The tantrics say it's okay to have desire in your life. I studied with Rod Stryker, the 4 desires, and it's a life changer. And it's very much like, we have the yogis have all this austerity, and you must not do this, you must not do that, like is it the 10 commandments or whatever. But with Tantra, as human beings, we all have inherent desire, and it's not bad. If you suppress it, it's not good. It's going to come out some other way. So rather than judging desire, Tantra recognizes desire as a constant. So if nothing else, you can desire your next breath. Even the desire to transcend desire is a desire. It's all a paradox, as you know. So rather than judging desire as something that goes against spirituality and struggling to transcend it, Tantra sees desire as an expression of the soul. Yeah? So desire accompanied by discernment leads to spiritual growth or freedom. So not going around being a perv, that's a bit different to the desire they're speaking about. This is about having this, it's almost like tapas, this burning spiritual ardor, being discerning with sitting in the eye of the storm before you act on your desire. Yeah. So the second one, apavarga, emancipation, freedom. So it's also known as moksha, liberation. So Tantra lays out a path of merging our finite self into the infinite, which is the ultimate freedom. So tantrics do not try to transcend the world to become a jivamukti. It's their highest intention is to experience an ultimate oneness while living in and being part of the world. So it's about being human and embracing being a human, but feeling the divinity within and without. Yeah. So it's having that freedom of connection to the world and knowing that it's okay to be a human. Whereas, a lot of this, the spiritual side of things, you read a lot that's like, you can't do this, you shouldn't do that. It gives you that freedom to be. And the third one, bhukti. So it refers to accomplishment. So Tantra acknowledges that self-knowledge and self-empowerment inspires you to become and to achieve things that reflect your soul's glory. So it's kind of like coming into like performing your dharma well, just figuring out what is your dharma code. This is part of the 4 desires training. This is the 4 desires, and which one are you lacking in, and trying to figure out how it all balances and figure out why are we here? This is what who am I? This is what we're all asking ourselves, and that's part of this thing. So tantric methodology, I said it, methodology. It empowers you to achieve a life of real impact and meaning, in which creativity is heightened and your life plays a vital role of contributing to the whole of which it is a part. Now, something that I've been with my practices recently, which relates to that, is I've been doing my tantric practice, but I've been doing quite a lot of yoga nidra before bedtime as well. And I've been really kind of accessing lucid dreams. So when you're in your dream, you're aware that you're dreaming, so that when you wake up, you can almost download some of the messages. And it's allowing me to make decisions or have creative ideas that it actually clears away some of the clutter that, sometimes you think your life, oh, I don't know if I could do that, it's all so complicated. It clears away the mush and takes you to that moment of discernment. So by doing your practice, or even doing a little bit of yoga nidra, like maybe only like once or twice a week, really helps you to connect that part of your brain and you're connecting to your dreams, as well as a really interesting way of working with your practices as well. Okay, so that's enough Tantra chat for this evening. It's just for you to get an understanding of that. And we're going to do some of the tantric practices, but it's not a huge part of 200 hours. It's just for you to have an understanding of the concept of it, because once you have an understanding of the concept of it, then you can apply it, and life does feel or flow so much better if you use the concept, but you don't have to. Okay, there's no rules. Okay, as long as you mean well, it's the main thing. Okay, so we're gonna get prepared for our practice. Okay, so moving onto your mats, moving all your stuff to the side. I'm gonna sort this out. What's it? So I'll end this recording and then start a new one.